Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? It's Geoff Mosher and Adam Caplan for an Inside the Birds tape review section, tape review podcast of a third straight loss. Man, you have to go all the way back to last year when the Eagles lost 3 straight. Now, I don't know if you remember this, Adam, but I took a vacation last year, a rare vacation right on Thanksgiving. I was in Jamaica the week of Thanksgiving, and you had to carry the ITB mantle by yourself and do a few solo podcasts. So I don't know if you remember that.
To myself.
Yeah, I'm sure it was riveting.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's why it's like, you bounce stuff off people. What do you think of this? How you have a conversation. These shows are conversational, so
right.
It's kind of weird.
Right.
What game was that we missed?
Well, it was during their 3-game losing streak. Who'd they play Thanksgiving weekend? I think it was New England, right? They had lost to Seattle, and then they lost to New England, and then they went down to Miami and lost to Miami. It was either Seattle, New England, Miami, or New England, Seattle, Miami. I forget the order. But that was a 3-game losing streak. But because I was gone for 1 week, I didn't really get the full benefit, the full pleasure of doing this podcast with you while the team was mired in a 3-game losing streak. I think as it's safe to say, as I like to start these off with a little bit more of an aerial view, that this 3-game losing streak feels so much more like rock bottom than last year's, where you knew you had the lighter schedule, your quarterback, you just needed him to make a few better throws. It wasn't a complete farce of an offense. And right now, you got Green Bay coming up, and we'll preview that on Friday morning. You got New Orleans, you got Arizona. And Washington's playing well enough where they already beat you once. So, I mean, I think it's really worth questioning if they can win a game again this year. It's fair. The question.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely fair because you're right. I mean, you described it very well. They've hit rock bottom. There's seemingly no light at the end of the tunnel here for the quarterback based on the way he's played lately. You might see a couple good throws a game, but we'll get into some of the issues with mechanics that was described to me by a very strong source. So,
yeah,
it's troubling. The matchup. We went in thinking like they'd be able to score some because Seattle's got the worst secondary in the National Football League in terms of giving up production to receivers. Well, that obviously they didn't take advantage of that matchup. I mean, Wentz threw the ball 45 times, but I mean, only had 215 yards. That can't happen.
Right.
Some of the stuff that people know about, we confirmed. Some of the stuff that people didn't know about, we've confirmed in terms of what the tape looked like and the issues that come out. The defense, obviously the aerial view, the defense has really come on here. Other than the issue they had with Metcalf, he still didn't technically score. He didn't score.
He set them up.
Yeah, he did set them up with the 1-yard line and dropped the touchdown, clear touchdown. But look, the defense is good enough for now to hang in there.
Mm-hmm.
They're only technically a game back because of that tie. So, okay. It feels like they're 10 games back. I get it. They're a bad football team right now, really on offense.
Yes, they are.
But
they shouldn't be this bad. I think there's a difference between Jacksonville that's bad right now. The Jets that are bad. I'm trying to even think of another team that might have 3 or 4 wins. The Cowboys, without Dak Prescott, are a bad team. But the Eagles shouldn't be this bad. This is what makes it more problematic and why we talk about the future of players and coaches and everything like that. Yeah. Because as rough as things are, they should not be this bad.
Yeah, and look, I said on our Monday morning show that obviously I was off in my evaluation of the roster in terms of how good this team would be.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely missed on that one. Now, I know some people said that you got to be careful criticizing them too much because their offensive line has been decimated by injury. It's certainly true. Can't argue against it. It's a fact.
No doubt about it.
It's very hard to quantify, though. The throws that Wentz should make, and we're going to get into that, when they do protect him.
Right.
You got to make the throws, and he just is not. And it's there are a lot of issues. It's mechanics is number one, but there's a litany of issues.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why it's protection. It's not seeing it. He's dropping his eyes sometimes, which I was not aware of a couple weeks ago. But two separate sources told me from their tape study.
Mm-hmm.
This is so new to him. He never did that before. It's troubling. You'd said weeks ago that this couldn't continue, and I agree with you. I thought Wentz would get better. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I was wrong about that.
Right?
You're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
But I agreed with you. I thought for sure there's no way he could play this poorly. He's so talented, but talent only takes you so far. He's in this funk now.
Yeah.
Bill Polian said on ITV-TV, Geoff, before we move on here in a sec,
Mm-hmm.
and Bill said it, like he definitely is pressing. He does this. He's been doing it repeatedly lately. When he is not throwing to the first progression for whatever reason, it's like, nah, you know what? I don't want to take that short pass that'll make it 2nd and 5, 2nd and 3. Which, by the way, coaches love that if he would have taken it. He's just trying to make the big play, and quite frankly, a lot of these big plays they're not there. They're covered, which is just I don't understand it.
Yeah. There's a lot that goes into it, and so we'll get into this in a minute. Obviously, some moves have already been made, and I wonder. A lot of people will listen to this on Wednesday morning. The team will be reconvening for practice, and the fact that they made a couple of moves already on Tuesday makes me wonder what's in store for the rest of the week. I mean, you've talked about how mad the owner is and reported on that, and so I just wonder if because eventually I don't feel like you're going to get to week 16 here with the same things happening over and over and over and over. So we'll have to see if this becomes a more interesting week for other changes or anything like that.
I don't know. I'm just kind of. I mean, as I used that example last year, the owner was not happy. Inquirer reported it that 2 coaches were in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
You saw what happened there.
Yep.
I don't know what's going to happen, but I've said all along, if they don't make the playoffs, anything's possible. That's the way I look at it. I say that because there's no way you could have expected this. No way. 3-7-1. Right. They had that really good schedule for a while. They didn't take advantage of it. It's just it's almost hard to understand. But obviously, they didn't meet expectations this season. Nobody did, and it's just head scratcher, man. But it's not any one part. There's so many issues, and you just can't point to one area. But anyway,
that's right. All right, so we'll get into some of the Tuesday information that developed. First, make sure you're checking out Tales from the Blind Side. I don't know if they're doing one this week because of the Monday night game, but you can go back and watch plenty of them, and there'll be one coming soon next week, if not this week, with Trey Thomas, Jamal Jackson, and Todd Hermans. And, of course, on Thursday morning, you'll be able to get Trey Thomas and Derek Gunn doing Grill and the Bird. So that should be an exciting show on our Inside the Birds YouTube and podcast platforms. Let's get into the transactions first. The bigger news was that Will Parks, the safety that they signed to a 1-year deal, was waived. I guess he could probably have seen some of the writing on the wall for the fact that A, he wasn't playing very much. B, he was on the trade deadline, as you had reported, a couple of weeks ago. He was on the trade block, I should say, around the deadline. And, this one's fascinating to me, Adam. Not the waiving. I mean, I think, I didn't expect it, but just like he came here on a 1-year deal for not a lot of money. And normally those guys who sign that kind of those deals, like you don't expect a whole lot from him. But guys like Greg Cosell, who do the Sunday pregame show with us, some other analysts in the media, liked his versatility and thought he was going to be a steal of a signing. And he doesn't even make it through the year. The money never matched the analytics hype, the analyst hype over it. So I never understood it, but I was willing to say, hey, I want to see this thing work and see what happens. But he got injured and then he just didn't play.
Yeah, they had a plan. He was going to play that star role. It's the movable safety linebacker, and that hamstring injury, that grade 2 hamstring strain, which kept him out 6 weeks, that set him back. He was behind, and the word I got, Geoff, on this transaction is the same thing I heard at the trade deadline, why they made him available. They want to take a look at younger players. Wallace has only played 3 snaps in like the last 7 weeks.
Right.
Mark Zepps hasn't played very much, so this gives him an opportunity to look at the younger players and start getting an idea of where they are. But yeah, the Parks one, boy, I had hopes for him based on what I'd heard in March when they signed him, the way they sold the role. And I do wonder, had he not gotten hurt, I suspect we would have had a different outcome here. But it is what it is, man. I don't know anymore with what they're trying to do with some of these guys when they come in here. If they get hurt, you got to give them a chance. But I understand they have the 2 safeties, particularly Wallace, who they really want to get to know better.
Mm-hmm.
Because Jalen Mills, I do question whether it has worked with him at safety. So
that's a fair question.
Yep.
And by the way, they elevated Graylin Arnold from the practice squad. Or actually, I'm sorry, they didn't elevate him. I
signed
him to the 53. He's a kid that they like and we'll get a chance to look at. And he'll help out on special teams, which has really been hurting hurting from a not like they're giving up big plays, but when you don't have Craig James and you don't have Marcus Epps, who was on COVID list for quite a while, and there's somebody else who got hurt that plays special teams whose name
Rudy Ford.
Rudy Ford, right. Yeah. Graylin can step in there. But I think you're right, and what you're probably going to see is a mixture of Kevon Wallace getting more time and Marcus Epps. Now, we had Quentin Michael on Inside the Birds TV with us several weeks ago, and he said it's great in theory, but you start telegraphing a little bit if you have one guy who plays the run and one guy who plays the pass.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how they had been using him at the time. Kevon Wallace more of a run stopper, Epps more of a pass defender. So we'll have to see how Jim figures out how to mix things up here without being very transparent.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see with that. Shareef Miller waived from the practice squad, so it's like the same on again off again saga with him.
It's too bad. He's got talent. It's just he's a guy who got completely screwed, but not having an off season. Boy, right. He needed one badly. That's the problem with this. You're seeing it around the league. A lot of players that. Teams like young players that they had high hopes for this season, they didn't have an offseason and didn't have a preseason. Not much of a training camp. It's hard. Sure, some rookies are doing well, some are not. Well, some second-year players who didn't play as a rookie, like Miller, didn't get a chance.
Well, that 2019 draft, Adam, it definitely looks worse by the day. Obviously, Andre Dillard is a big X factor. If he can come back, be healthy, and be a good left tackle, we'll see. Mm-hmm. That can change it. Miles Sanders is the savior of that class, but after that, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, we know the story, Shareef Miller, and Clayton Thorson.
And Miles, look, I don't know what's going on lately. We'll get into that in a minute. It's confounding, man. I don't even know what to say anymore. I mean, I ask people opinions, about what they think, and they kind of agree with you and I. The lack of use of Sanders in the pass game is I don't want to say troubling. It's puzzling.
Yeah, it doesn't help that he's dropping passes too. So
right, he is. There's no that you can't defend, but what you also can't defend is why does he have to reach down all the time for these passes? How many of them hit him here? For those of you watching us on YouTube. Yeah. Very few this season have been where the ball should be, and we're going to get into that for one of my sources who broke down Wentz's mechanics, which continue to surprise where they're at. You would think by now the coaches would have figured this out. I know they're working with him, but you would think that this would not be a problem at this point, but unfortunately, it still is.
Oh, it sounds it. Also, T.Y. McGill and Caleb Wilson reverted back to the practice squad. Caleb actually played in the game, and really he missed an edge block on Jamal Adams that led to somebody getting their clock cleaned on that. That's the only way I noticed it. I was watching tape today, and I saw Jamal Adams come off the edge, and I saw the 80, and I kept seeing it. I said, is that 83? Who's 83? I had I couldn't remember he was 83, so that was his contribution.
Yeah, it's 5 snaps. Yeah, that. Yeah, so look, this was, as we get into this, in a sec here. This was a game where, I picked Seattle to win. They did. There were some good things, particularly the Eagles' defensive line, and they did a good job overall against Wilson. They really did. You can't keep him down for the whole game.
Right.
I give Jim Schwartz credit. He's seemingly every year when it looks bleak, when the defense is regressing, you go, what is wrong with them? We've knocked him for 2 years now about the lack of pre-snap and post-snap disguise. He just doesn't do it very much.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Particularly because they're playing. When you play man, it's harder. It's not like you can't do it, but it's a little bit harder. Mm-hmm. He doesn't believe in it. He just doesn't do it very much. And so you got to execute. That 4-man pressure's got to work. And then their run defense for the most part was good. That's a positive. Like that was a positive. But the offense, my friend, I don't know what to do.
Well. All right. Well, I bet there's a lot of great coverage about the Eagles and the Sixers who are starting up soon, and the Flyers and the Phillies, and even the Philadelphia Union on PHLSportsNation.com. They're always enhancing the fan experience with their great content. They are for the fan, by the fan. That's their motto. Check them out. You can also find them on Twitter at PHLSportsNation. So go to them or their website, PHLSportsNation.com, doing a great job. Let's pause real quick for a word from our great sponsors, including our friends at Sky Motor Cars. All right, Adam, let's do what we always do with our tape breakdown. We start with offense. So I've got some observations. I actually went I noticed something in this game, and it made me go back and look at some other games that they played this year to see if I saw a pattern, and I did. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But first, I would like you to kind of, I know you've talked to some sources who've graded the tape and seen it. So give me your info on Carson.
Yeah, there's some issues about his mechanics. Like, I think for most of the season, we kind of had an idea of what we were looking at. But when you talk to different people around the league, it just depends on who you speak with and how well they know the quarterback position. So one guy I talked to this week said he saw 3 alarming things. Arm slot. Mm-hmm. He's got an improper arm slot. He's not throwing from the right area. Okay. And he said, the guy said, watch his right elbow. It's too high. Like if you're watching this on YouTube, it's way too high. It causes him the ball to flutter and also to be inaccurate. He's not getting his feet squared up correctly. And we haven't talked about this in a while. This has been a problem for 2 years, by the way. He spreads his legs way too far out. That causes the ball to take a nosedive sometimes and to be inaccurate. So all of this that I'm putting out there, this plays into the inaccuracy. I know the coaches are working hard with him. I don't doubt that. But whatever they're saying to him, it's not working. I don't understand how this is happening, and we're now in week 13. I mean, really.
All right. If people want to know exactly what Adam's speaking of on that issue with the footwork that you just mentioned about spread, having the legs too wide, the throw to Dallas Goedert that was tipped by, come on, Geoff. Who was it? Why can't I think? It wasn't Diggs. Bobby Wagner.
Oh, yeah. Was that the one who drew the penalty, though?
No. It was the one where Wagner had him covered downfield and tipped it. It was underthrown, and that's why Wagner was able to tip it. It wasn't because Carson lacks the arm strength, but if you watch that in slow motion, you will see a gigantic overstride on his delivery.
That's it. You nailed it. That was the other part of it. Thank you for mentioning that. That was connected to the feet spread apart. He's got a major overstride. Greg Cosell's also, by the way, mentioned this on our pregame show.
Right.
So this is a problem. Once they get to the offseason, if the same guys are working with him in the offseason, if that's the case, they've got a major project. This is the number one issue with this football team is getting the quarterback right. Just fixing the mechanics and correcting it, making sure it doesn't regress again, or he'll never get there. He'll never be a great quarterback again. He'll just be the guy that you see now, or maybe a little bit better, but never getting back to it. And that's kind of where he's at.
Right. So to recap, it's arm slot is off.
Arm slot, yeah, improper arm slot was the way it was.
Right, the feet spread wide, the overstriding, and then the eyes not always up anymore. Eyes down. Is that
dropping the eyes a little bit? Yeah, I've heard this now 2 or 3 straight weeks. He's dropping his eyes. I've never heard that about him.
No, that's crazy. All right, I'll add to you what I noticed in the game. See, what we're talking about there from your source is fundamentals and techniques.
Actually, 2 people, by the way. One gave me most of this, and another one saw some other stuff, and I'm just combining it.
Sure.
Anyway, go ahead.
So your source is right. So that's a lot of fundamentals and technique that we've talked about for quite a while. One thing I noticed in watching, and today is just TV copy because the All-22 wasn't out yet when I watched it, but it made me go back and look that Carson seems to be struggling. He is. Against cover 3 looks, 1 safety deep, cover 3. The cornerbacks come back, which is actually a defense that a lot of teams play. A lot more teams play 1 safety deep than 2 safety deep, especially the teams the Eagles have been playing lately. And when you have that kind of concept, right, a cover 3, 1 safety deep, what the offense likes, there's beaters for that.
Tight end beat.
Or verticals is a great example.
Right, but tight ends over the big time tight end beater.
Seems.
Yes, the Gerald Everett, one game against Seattle, just beat them repeatedly over the middle.
Yep. Because
the whole player is the linebacker, and that's all they got. And the linebacker can't cover Gerald Everett. He's too much of an athlete. And Goddard's too much of an athlete.
Right.
He is, as I said on our other show, man, he's just got to get the football. The guy commands it. He's just got to get it. And
well, that's a big deal here is that when you see a cover 3, and Doug is, I think to Doug's credit, I know we've ripped him for play calling, he's giving Carson a lot of 4 vertical looks. so that when you have one safety deep, all Carson has to do, as long as he has protection, is you're going to have two guys running down one guy down each seam, a left seam and a right seam, right? And you've got one safety that you have to manipulate. So if you look to the right seam, the safety has to move that direction. All right. If you look to the left seam or the left side, the safety's got to move that way. And Carson, I would say from 2017 to 2019, did this as well as anybody out there. He manipulated the safety and then worked those seams with Goddard or Ertz or even Nelson Aguilar as a vertical slot who can work those seams, right? He is he's not seeing. Like, there have been guys running down the seams open, and he actually sometimes sees it and doesn't throw it, or he just doesn't see what it's created. And then I went back. So I told you, I went back and looked at other games, and I saw this repeatedly. There are guys, and we kind of have touched on this throughout the week. You know, you go all the way back to Cincinnati. You had Deshaun Jackson on a different concept, wide open.
Touchdown.
And he's staring at him. He's literally looking at him and doesn't pull the trigger at the 2-yard line. Okay, but we're seeing it. But cover 3 almost invites you to your strengths, which is your Carson Wentz. You love to throw to your tight end and your vertical, your slot receiver. And there were 2 or 3 times against the Seahawks where both Ward and Goddard, pick your poison, they're both running up the seam. You just manipulate the safety and hit the other one, and he just did not.
Or the one
pull the trigger.
Where Reagor raised his hand.
Well, that's a totally other thing I was going to bring up. Yeah. There are certain times where there are guys wide open on other concepts, and Carson just didn't see it. You're right. There was that one play where nobody lined up across Jalen Reagor in the slot on the left side to the point where Jalen's waving. You know, his hands are in the air, ball snapped, and Carson doesn't even look at him. And that's problematic because you said this before, and you're right, that it's correctable. It certainly is correctable in the manner that you can show that to Carson on the film and say, all right, you know, we got to start hitting these seams. And he can say, oh, yeah, next time I will. But I'm sure they've been doing that all year long. And for whatever reason, man, he's just not pulling the trigger.
Exactly. It's all correct. The way it was explained to me a couple times in the recent weeks is everything that other teams are seeing when I ask them, it's all correctable. They all seem to agree on it. I know the coaches are working on it. They just haven't gotten through to them.
Right.
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, the other thing is, you know, Pitt fans been asking us through social media, is it the structure of the offense, the quarterback, a combination of both, and also are the receivers getting open? Well, I've said this repeatedly, and I'll add some stuff to it. The play design, and I've talked to a lot of people about this, they do not scheme the receivers open well enough. They just don't. This has been a problem for 2 years now. You have to know, if you guys can't win on their own, scheme the hell open.
Right.
Okay? Yes, folks who've asked, you know, a lot of you saw the same thing that we did, and we also asked about it. They don't get open enough on their own. They just don't. That's okay? Fine. Then, as I've said many times, what makes Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay special as play callers and designers, really. It's not play callers as much as it's play design.
Right.
They do not put a lot on the receivers to get open on their own. They rarely do.
Right.
And that's what I believe Rich Scangarello was supposed to add from his days with Kyle. You know, Rich called plays in Denver. He called them at Wagner in college. But I don't know. I don't know what Pederson says to these guys. He impressed Taylor too. But whatever they're supposed to be bringing, and all these coaches and these analysts and all that stuff, folks, the clock's ticking. It's week 13. When are we going to see it?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. That's why I keep wondering, like, how long are you going to bang the same drum? You know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And it just feels like for the last 4 games, you've seen the same thing over and over. Doug Pederson had a press conference, by the way. He did say that for the first time, I guess, everything's on the table as far as giving up play calling. So,
yeah,
you know, like I said, this might be an interesting week.
Yeah, it is, you know, good for him to say that.
I guess. You know what the most common response to that is?
No one's told me this, but when he put it out there like that, I got to think he's going to – again, I'm just guessing.
Right.
It's called an educated guess. When he puts it out there like that, particularly him, either somebody's getting in his ear or says, you know what, like Matt Nagy did, he just sees it and goes, you know what, there's got to be a better way because it's not working.
Right.
And you know what he also could do? figure out a way to scheme these guys open better. If Reagor can't get separation, or is not getting open, put him on more crossers. Get him forward. Put him across. Where all Carson has to do is throw it here. Okay, these slot screens didn't work. Try something else. And here's another thing: when are you going to let this kid return punts? The kid was unbelievable as a punt returner.
Right,
college. Let's go. Get 18.
I know I guess he let the one go over his head a couple weeks ago, and then now he's banished for life for returning punts.
Come on,
I don't know.
Come on.
So I was talking to someone who played in the NFL, and we were just talking about offensive concepts, and he said, and he's familiar with the Eagles, and he said, when we were struggling offensively, we had certain plays. Our coach had certain plays that were actually named after the player. Like, this is so-and-so's plays, right? And not just one, like 3 or 4. We're going to run that because we want to get the ball in his hands. And you wonder if Doug is running anything for Travis Fulgham now or Jalen Reagor now, because they are your best and most dynamic receivers, right? Is he running his Travis Fulgham plays? Is he running his Jalen Reagor plays? Because when you watch it on tape, it just looks like they're running, you're using Jalen to run go routes all the time. I mean, they did throw one tunnel screen to him. It seemed to pick up a few yards. That was good. But same thing with Fulgham. Fulgham's running that X position, deep dig, comeback. He's running those West Coast routes. Like, how about doing something where where Carson is instructed to get the ball to Fulgham and you give him a route that gets him open in space? You're playing the zone, and you just say this is the Fulgham
Pittsburgh game. Now, they saw a lot of man in that game, but man, Fulgham was unbelievable in that game. I've thrown up my hands with him lately. I don't know what the heck is going on. There's been a lot of mystery. The misuse of Sanders in the pass game. I understand he's dropped some passes. We're well aware of that. But I also would argue how many of those passes were accurate. You know what accurate is to a running back? Get him moving forward.
Right.
Lead him. When Carson was special in 2017 and when he was solid in 2018, you didn't see a lot of ground balls, man. You didn't see a lot of passes that weren't quite where they needed to be. It's look, the tape tells you. You don't need to guess. The tape tells you the story. Yeah. And we've seen it. And TV copy, you could see it because you're able to rewind it. You could see it. If he's got to reach down or stop his route, I'm sorry. He still should catch the ball. I get that. But I want to see better accuracy from the quarterback.
Let me ask you this, Adam, as we finish off wide receivers here. What purpose is being served by Alshon Jeffery playing 35 snaps?
And I could tell you, I won't repeat exactly what one source said to me. Let's just say that he doesn't look very fast. Breaking news.
Yeah.
He labors a little bit when he's running. Well, that's Alshon's look like that, for a long time. But he seems like he gets open. He wins. But I don't know. I know people. What conspiracy theories? Alshon returns. Fulgham regresses. Oh, hard to argue when you look at the snap counts in this last game. I don't know what is. I'm so
Adam. The guy's got 5 freaking games left in his career. Why are the Eagles placating him? What are they like? What's the deal here?
The money is his
money's guaranteed.
Enough, right?
Sit on the bench, make your money, and let's go play with our young wide receivers who are getting frustrated.
It's play him situationally, okay? Let Fulgham get the majority of the snaps, because if everything goes well, your X a minimum of next season is Fulgham is your X, Reagor is your Z, which is really what he was drafted to do. Then Reagor can play slot, and then you get someone else. You get Hightower, maybe they draft somebody or they sign somebody. Right. But they can get this thing moving. I know people are crushing Reagor right now. I understand he's not doing well. He's a very competitive kid. Game means a lot to him. His dad played for the Eagles. Let's get to the offseason if we're going to have one. Let's just see what happens when he has a real offseason first before people put him, like he can't play.
Yeah, this doesn't feel like J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. I mean, he's actually on the field when the ball's thrown to him. Most of the time, he catches it. You can see the speed. I mean, it's not like he's going to go 6 games and only get 3 targets. So they've just got to get the ball in his hands more.
Figure out a way to do that,
right?
In a way that he can get open. Okay. Yes, he's not getting open enough. Help him. That's my point.
I agree with you. And having Alshon Jeffery out there for 35 snaps is one of the most ridiculous things I think I've seen in a year. That has just been ridiculous.
I don't have an answer. Again,
I know we criticize. People like to say, "Well, you guys don't know more than the coaches," and then that's fair. But I mean, this one, just seems just absurdly and patently dumb. And I've gotten that confirmed to me by other people, right, who are smarter than me. Like, nobody can figure out why a guy who's got 5 games left as an Eagle and is guaranteed money, so you don't have to worry about his feelings getting hurt because he's getting paid.
Sure.
I told you, I would have already cut him.
Hey, I thought Jeff McClain's question from the Inquirer was very fair, but a little blunt the way he asked Pederson last week or the week before that.
Yeah.
Why is Jeffrey even on the field?
Like, what's the point here? What are we doing here?
Did
you see Brian Baldinger's breakdowns, by the way? Baldy's breakdowns on Twitter?
He's Baldy's. I love his work. He's fantastic.
But he's like sounding like you now, where he's just like, at one point he goes, what is this? I don't understand what this is. What is this?
I love that. I love Baldy. I sent him a note a year or two ago. I said, dude, you're doing great work. Once Baldy figured out how to get the videos up there, with slow motion, all that, he's phenomenal at it. It's great. When Dan Orlovsky does it, any of the ex-players, Jeff Schwartz and the other guys who played, do videos. It's great. It's great educational. Look, when Sean Payton had COVID, do you remember he was on Twitter for a couple weeks?
Yes.
He was going over some of his old plays. It's phenomenal. I mean, this is
awesome.
It's a good part of social media is when people can learn. That's why you and I do the show.
Yeah.
Only for people to learn. We're not doing it for our benefit. We're doing it for everyone else's. We want people to be better Eagle fans, and whether you are a season ticket holder or just a fan of the team, we're just giving you our knowledge. We're as we learn, you learn. This is why we're doing it, and we're critical. We could be more critical. Oh my God! I mean, I'm to the point now where it's like I don't feel even bad about it because it's the truth. The truth will always set you free.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to find something positive, and it's obviously the defense, Jeff. And we get there in a minute, but we got to talk about the offensive line. It's not quite what I thought, by the way.
Yeah, real quick, I forgot one point I wanted to make on Carson before we move on, because it tailored into why he's throwing to a certain bot and not seeing the other receiver or not going. And you've brought this up. We brought this up a lot. It's very, very clear that he has predetermined where he's going with the ball on nearly every pass. He's not going through progressions, and maybe that's because he's been hit a lot, and you can't blame him for that part if he feels scattershot. But the bottom line is, guys are wide open. He's not throwing the ball because they're not what he thinks. They don't see that happening. They don't see the coverage breakdown. He's going to one person and one person only, and it's usually a tight end.
Yeah, I've heard that. And you're right. I agree. You nailed it. It's
offensive line.
No. What I'm saying is, it's a real problem.
Mm-hmm.
I said it on our show Monday morning. He'll the first progression, he sees it and doesn't throw to him.
Right.
And I'm like, what? I know enough about the quarterback position. That's not a good thing. And you just outlined it very well. You've seen it. You've talked about it before. Not to this degree. You really nailed that one. That's probably, in addition to everything we've said, that's the other part of this, is predetermining. This has nothing to do with mechanics. It's just part of his issues of playing quarterback right now. He's predetermining throws, and he's trying to play hero ball. No, I'm not going to take that first down. I was talking about that like 10 minutes ago.
Right.
Not going to take that play. I'm going to throw it to Dallas Goedert down the field where he's covered. What? Why?
I don't know. It's
so many. It doesn't have to be this way.
Yeah. All right, download the top-rated DraftKings. Oh, no, wait. You know what? Before I plug our friends at DraftKings, we do have to go to the offensive line.
Yes.
Jordan Mailata played pretty good.
It's funny you say that, because when I'm watching the game, you can't. I don't know. I'm not really good at evaluating offensive line play, but it was so hard to tell. So here's what was explained to me. I think you'd mentioned this a couple times ago, and then I believe our friend Trey Thomas also said it.
Mm-hmm.
They are really struggling with games on the D-line.
Oh, yeah. They did last year, too.
God, they suck at it. Now, I do believe it's part of the 10 different offensive line changes, the communication part.
Mm-hmm.
Trey and Jamal Jackson have talked about it, and Trey's talked about it a lot. There's this unspoken code. It's whatever it is that they do, they're not picking it up. They're really bad at it this game. And it's not. And it's funny. It's like the Seahawks know this because they're watching the tape. They could see if you play the games up front, stunts and whatever just every tackle and stunts, whatever they're doing, the games that they're doing, they're just not picking it up. And it was a real problem this game.
I agree with you. Mailata was good. Pryor, I thought, struggled at times. He has struggled at times. Who played right guard? It was who was the right guard? Because Pryor was right tackle.
Oh,
right?
Peters.
Oh yeah, Jason Peters, right guard. Look, the offensive line just didn't play so great
As a unit,
so,
right? They had
yeah,
issues.
as a unit,
And the other thing is they got edged.
Well, I tell you, Seattle did what a lot of the Browns did it too last week. Nobody has respect for the Eagles' perimeter game, passing game. So they load the box. I mean, this offensive line is now facing 7-man fronts a lot. You saw Jamal Adams was practically a linebacker in that game.
Well, he is. He actually is playing Jack linebacker. He's an unbelievable blitzer. Yeah. He's playing with a sore shoulder, by the way, but he was incredibly impactful.
A sore shoulder from all the hits that he put on.
Yeah, and did you see the one that he had in the game? They slowed it up. ESPN did. I don't know if it was a bad shoulder or not. He's a hell of a football player. He's so impactful to what they do. This line, we knew it would be a problem because they have not played together. So hopefully, if they need to keep this group together, don't change it. Let them get their timing down.
Well, I wouldn't mind Driscoll maybe moving in for Matt Pryor, but I hear what you're saying.
I agree. Okay, I don't know if he's strong enough yet to do that. I mean, he did get in and for one snap. Yeah, one snap on
special
offense.
Teams, I thought, but
it was actually technically one snap on offense and 2 on specials.
Oh, I wonder if they went 13.
Yeah, no. What happened was Steve Levy did say, "Oh, the Eagles are going with 6 offensive linemen." It was Driscoll in that one play.
There you go.
One heavy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would rather see him at obviously at right tackle, and I mean that would be it.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. My bad. I would rather play him at right tackle, not for Peters. That would be the only thing I would do. Yeah, I could see that if Driscoll's over his knee injury, sure, I would do that. Guy's a good football player. They have a find in him. I think that one's going to work out.
Yeah, that would be nice. It would be one of those nice stories of the season if that were to happen. All right, download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app today and use code ITB for a special offer when you sign up. That's code ITB for a special offer when you sign up only at DraftKings Sportsbook. All right, let's talk about the defense, which played pretty well. I mean, we'll start with the defensive line because they've played well. I think they've played fairly decently all year long. They don't maybe – I don't know. Actually, they do have a decent amount of sacks this year. I think they're up there in sacks.
Well, their pressures, they're right up there in top 3 in pressures, quarterback pressures. They're kind of what we thought. Hargrave is getting better and better and better. Barnett, it wasn't just his two quarterback hits and a sack. He's making the quarterback move. You noticed Wilson, there were some times where Wilson just moved. They made him move, and he wasn't comfortable. That's not easy to do.
Right. Wilson
was not super sharp in that game. Yeah, he still hit it. He still got them. He always does. But they did a good job. They did a good job. I was pretty impressed with their ability, and we said this on our pregame show on Monday night. The Eagles had a tremendous advantage against Seattle's offensive line. They have a below-average offensive line, and it showed. So it's good. Barnett's had a pretty consistent year. It's been a good story. BG's bringing it. He brought it. Cox had some flash plays in the game. Look, the thing, and I think you had said it before a couple weeks ago, he's not the Fletcher Cox of old. He's not going to have 5 to 7 big impactful plays a game. He's having 1 to 3 of them, maybe 2 or 3. Okay. Mm-hmm. He's in his 30s now. That's probably who he is at this point.
Right. He has had 4 games in a row with a sack is pretty good. And, what's he got? 5.5, 6 for the season. He may finish with his, requisite 8.5 sacks, probably make his Pro Bowl like he does every year. But I think people have said he's kind of fallen asleep throughout the year. And that's not the case. He may not be as dominant as he was 3 or 4 years ago, but he's still a very good defensive tackle. And he still makes
just in terms of the run, he's doing fine against the run.
Mm-hmm.
They did a really good job. For the most part, they fell asleep on the touchdown run.
Mm-hmm.
They were in a bad run fit, but overall, they against running backs more often than not they slow them down. They're pretty good run defense against running backs. Against quarterbacks that like to run, they are not. That's for the most part, they're not. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. What did you get on linebackers? Singleton seemed all right.
Pretty disciplined. There were a couple. There were probably 2 or 3 where they're out of position. Singleton continues to be a story. He's just a good football player, man. This is a hell of a find for them. This is yet another one where I don't know Ken Flagel. I hope he's loving this because this is a guy that he wasn't given a lot of time to in training camp. But I was told anytime he was on the field, he looked damn good. So now you're seeing it. And as we've said for weeks, now once he gets this guy Nate Gary back, what's he going to do?
If he gets Nate Gary back, do we know?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I don't know much about the injury. But Duke Riley is kind of what he is at this point. He's a pretty athletic, could run. You could use him in certain ways. Obviously, nickel. It's kind of who he is at this point. Linebackers they're getting better. That's the thing is they're not getting killed anymore. And
TJ Edwards has done a nice job. He is their downhill linebacker. He's playing the run well for the last few weeks. That is what he does best. It's what he did well yesterday. I don't know if he's ever going to be in their nickel package unless there's a lot of injuries, but for a rookie who was undrafted, I'm sorry, not a rookie, but for an undrafted player in his second year, I think you can be happy with that. It's still not a very good collection of linebackers overall.
But it's better.
But they're better. They're more stable. Right.
Yes, and it's way better than it was earlier this season where we're like, oh, God, do we have to talk about these guys anymore?
I know. They lost some games earlier in the year because of linebacker play.
Yeah.
So, Darius Slay already – I mean, look, what are we going to say that Darius didn't say? Darius said it was the worst game of his life. He lost a lot of 50-50 balls. Somebody did who watches the Eagles and is familiar with their scheme did say to me, and I think this is something we've talked about a lot, why does Jim always play off coverage with his corners? Always.
He doesn't believe in right, and he doesn't believe in doubling. He just doesn't. So you didn't get Slay to not get any help, and that was that. Yeah, man, that Miami game, that was the game where it wasn't just the picket fence. Last year he plays a lot of off coverage. He just doesn't press, and he gives you room, and that's why they do occasionally get crushed on slants. I mentioned the smoke route. You're going to get that. I don't know why more teams don't throw smoke routes to them against their DBs because they're so far off. That's a off beater, man. You just throw that smoke route. So, look, they I thought for the most part the tackling by the safeties when they were supposed to tackle they did. Look, Rodney McLeod continues to be nosy in the run game. He's done a good job. He's had a good year. I'm clearly going to be wrong about that one. I didn't see the point of bringing him back. I was told that he was back because they needed a veteran back there, and Jim likes that. Okay, look, he's recovered from that shoulder injury he had last year. He's done a good job. Right.
All right. Anything left with the secondary? Anybody? Avonte Maddox did not get torched by Lockett, so that was a
no. And I don't know if because Roby Coleman probably saw him a bunch. I'll try to find out for our Friday matchup show on the Green Bay. How much they saw Lockett? Who was it? Was it all Maddox? Did Roby? I don't know. I'd like to know that. Josh Sweat, by the way, we didn't mention him.
Oh yeah,
he's a great. He got to Wilson a couple times. He also, I'm told, plays great with his run fits. He's just. This is, that 18 class is pretty solid.
I would like to see them give him an extension in this offseason if they can.
Yeah, I think you were saying low end one kind of.
Yeah, sure. I mean, he's always going to be a situational kind of player. He's not a starter, right? So I mean, you can bring him back on a deal. And he's probably for the same reasons that he's probably not going to be a starter for the Eagles. I doubt he's going to run out there into free agency and get, boatload of money.
Exactly. You're right.
And if his agent is smart and if he talked to his doctors, they should say, hey, if you get upfront money on a second contract, you might as well take it because you just never know with your knee situation. So I feel like the Eagles can get a win here.
Yeah, this is a, as much as people are on the Eagles because they wouldn't draft
Metcalf
because of the neck issue. Well, there were a lot of teams that took Sweat off the board and the Eagles did not, and that's a credit to them. They obviously had good medical information, and this one. Now I will tell you, his first year, I remember going to training camp. He wasn't practicing very much, and he was having issues with his knee.
Yeah,
and you were like, I don't know if it's going to work out, and then it's worked out, man. This kid's a player, man. This is a hell of a find for them.
That was the 2018 draft, right? That's the
that's a good look. Maddox needs to get back where he was. He'll be their slot corner next year. He better be their slot corner next year.
Yeah.
And Goddard's a stud. I mean, he's a player. He just needs to stay healthy.
Yep.
Who else was in that draft? They had 5 picks.
As you mentioned, Sweat and Mailata was in that draft.
Yeah, seventh round. That's you would like to have more than 5 picks, but that's a pretty good draft right there, man. On paper, it looks to be a solid one.
Yeah, especially if Jordan Mailata really becomes, a really nice cornerstone left tackle. All right. Hey, look, the holidays are here. Make sure you're getting that 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. You get your lawnmower, you get your crop kit, mop, everything that entails, even the nice cologne. Manscaped.com. Use that promo code ITB. You get 20% off and free shipping. We all know how important that is over the holidays. All right, Adam, we'll be back on Friday with our normal, Packers-Eagles preview. What are you expecting real quick, just this week? I mean, you already have Doug talking about maybe giving up play calling, and you've already seen some moves. Do you think this is going to be kind of a standard week, or I don't know? Do you have?
I think I know you seem to be onto something. I don't know. I haven't talked about this.
I'm just asking.
No. You seem to be. You got some sense there. I have not heard anything, but the Parks was cut.
Right.
Okay. He only played, I think, 15 snaps or something. He was not non-factor.
Right.
They only the money was $1.475 million. It's not a lot of money, but oh well, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Look, Doug said he put the play calling nugget out there. He didn't say he wouldn't do it now.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone was getting in his head or, sitting him down.
Yeah, I just wonder if maybe the people observe a personnel change somewhere. I'm not talking quarterback. I'm just talking about anywhere. I mean, I'm just wondering if there's.
Well, look, we talk about Kayvon Wallace maybe playing now, getting him to the rotation at safety.
Right.
We know the offensive line should stay the same.
Maybe Driscoll, if he's healthier, maybe they put Driscoll
right tackle. I will try to get some intel on that. We'll certainly have that for our Sunday show. That show, by the way, is at 1 p.m. Eastern. For those of you who aren't in the Eastern time zone for the Green Bay game, we're about 3 hours. We like to start it on the hour, so it'll be at 1 o'clock for that 4:25 game. Mm-hmm. The Eagles don't have another 1 o'clock game, I don't think.
Right. I just wonder if also in the mindset of coaches when they know how angry the owner is and they know what can happen if things don't change, like what do they do inside the building? Like they can't possibly convene on Wednesday and plan for the Packers. This is just me, spitballing, right?
Yeah.
The same way they convened last Wednesday to prepare for the Seahawks and the Wednesday before to prepare for the Browns. There has to be the most dire sense of urgency, like the reality of all these guys potentially being in hot water as coaches. I mean, everybody's talking about it. Like, how many games are you going to lose?
I know. Everyone's asking. You're seeing every single report. No, I kind of find it funny. Like, it's not breaking news, folks, if the owner is not happy. If he was happy, that would be breaking news.
That would be breaking news.
Okay, it's not news. It's just not. My mom could tell you that the owner's not happy. Why? Because no owner in his right mind would be happy at this point.
No.
Fans are super pissed off. My buddies I was on a month ago. I was on a text chain. I was like, guys, please take me off this. I was trying to help them, talk them off the ledge, but they wouldn't stop. I was like, God, come on.
Yeah.
No, I get it. You're pissed.
Yeah, I know if it were me, if my backs were against the wall, I'm like gonna burn the midnight oil and try to think, what can I do completely different? Yeah. What can I do?
Okay. We've talked about it. We didn't really. They did a little bit of pre-snap, but don't just do it to do it. Yeah. You want to get pre-snap indicators. You want to get a sense of what they're trying to do.
Can they one time when the guy goes in motion, right? Can they snap the ball while the receiver is running right at the mesh point and either hand it to him and give yourself a little counter? Or just fake it and let everybody think you're going to that guy and then pitch it in the opposite direction?
Another issue that I've heard, we haven't talked about this in a couple of months, but the mesh point on play action.
Yeah.
He's got to be better with it.
He's got Aaron Rodgers. There's nobody better.
Pull it in and out. Yeah. Now, there was a good visual on the of Monday Night Football. They showed him. It was okay, but there's some – Peyton Manning was also great at it, man.
Oh, he was, yeah.
He's just got to look. Wentz is an immense talent, but he's regressed so significantly. You wonder with this season, right, where they're at with can they? I mean, if Wentz again, people could throw knives at me if they want, but if the guy would play average football, they're winning this division because the defense right now is playing solid football, winning football.
It's a good question. I don't know. I mean, he played. Wouldn't you say he was kind of average against the Seahawks? He did not turn the ball over until the fourth quarter.
He was not average. No.
Yeah, you're right. He was bad. He was bad. That's fair. I'm just saying, like, for him, because he didn't turn the ball over until the fourth quarter, and that wasn't even his fault. That was Dallas Goedert's fault.
Right? Yeah, he was Goddard. You're right. Goddard.
Right.
Yeah, I forgot that. Goddard owned up to it. But just to summarize it, folks, he's in a funk. It's been a season-long funk.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the regression started last year. Then he got himself righted. Also, I'll give you another nugget. Man, last season, Carson's, and I know that the matchups were great, but what I was told from other teams was that they really impressed with the way that Eagles changed up their offense. It plays in what you just asked.
Mm-hmm.
The final quarter of the season, Mike Rowe, I guess, and whoever was helping Mike, I guess Pederson and I don't know, Press Taylor, I don't know who the heck it was, but anyway, they changed their route combinations were better, got some really good compliments because they had wide splits last year, folks. Wide splits means the quarterback, the receivers got to win on their own. They don't win on their own here yet. They're not doing it yet. They're not advanced enough yet. So the coaches, I'm playing what you just asked. It's a phenomenal question. The coaches have to help these receivers. That to me is a number, other than Wentz right now. It's getting Sanders the football in the pass game way more. I don't care if he drops it. I don't care where the throw is. Just do it and help your receivers out. Get them open because they're not getting open on their own.
Amen. We probably sound like a broken record at this point, but
hey.
I will amen to that. That will do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles Intel. A big thanks, as always, to our producer, Hunter Brody. You can check out his work on his YouTube channel. It's called Sports Talk with Broads, and check him out on Twitter at Broads81. And as always, we thank all of you for flying with us through this very tumultuous season on Inside the Birds.